It's been 4 days since a major war kicked off in the Middle East. Things are moving incredibly fast. The situation's changing literally by the hour, and everyone's asking the same things. Who's involved? Where is this all headed? And, how does it end? So let's break down exactly what's going on as of day 4.
Look, this is not some simple border skirmish. We're talking direct strikes across entire countries, huge defensive shields going up, and global powers getting drawn in. It's a really complex web for sure, but believe it or not, there's a surprisingly simple way to get your head around it all.
Here's the key. You have to see this not as one big, messy war, but as two very distinct conflicts happening at the exact same time on parallel tracks. This right here is the core idea that makes everything else just click into place.
So here's how it works. On track 1, you've got the direct fight, right? US and Israeli strikes are hitting targets inside Iran, and Iran is hitting back with its own missiles and drones. Simple enough? But at the same time, on track 2, you have this massive defensive operation. The Gulf countries are basically creating this giant shield to block incoming attacks, and their allies are rushing in to help them hold that line. Pretty much everything that's happening fits neatly into one of those two tracks.
Okay, so keeping that two-track framework in mind, let's take a look at the key players. 4 days in, everybody's role in this has become crystal clear.
And you can see this really clear division of labor here. The US is focused on strategic strikes, hitting broader military infrastructure. Israel is going for what they call deep strikes, these really surgical hits on key targets like leadership complexes. Iran's role? It's pure retaliation at this point. But here's the most critical part. The Gulf states are strictly on defense. Their only job is to form this massive protective shield and knock down everything that comes their way.
And that defensive shield, it's already getting reinforcements. Some key European allies are stepping up. The UK has sent in one of its advanced Type 45 destroyers and is flying defensive missions. France is moving its aircraft carrier, the Charles de Gaulle, into the region. You see? They are all in on that second track. Containment.
Meanwhile, you've got other big players who are staying on the sidelines for now. Russia has come out with strong condemnations, sure, but their main focus on the ground is getting their people out of the Bushehr nuclear site. And the UN? Well, they're doing what the UN does, calling for investigations and telling everyone to de-escalate. They are definitely observers here, not active participants.
All right, so we've got the players in what they're trying to do. Now let's actually map this thing out, because to really understand this war, you have to understand the geography.
This is the heart of the conflict. The strikes are concentrated deep inside Iran, going after things like command centers, missile sites, and really critical facilities like the Natanz enrichment plant. This is the primary battlefield. So this is what we'll call the primary strike zone. It's the physical space where that first track, the direct kinetic fight, is actually playing out. It's the target for the US and Israel, and it's the launch pad for all of Iran's retaliation. Then, radiating out from there, you have the defensive missile shield zone. This basically covers the Gulf states like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Their entire focus is creating a protective bubble over all that critical energy infrastructure and allied military bases, just soaking up those waves of Iranian drones and missiles.
And then you've got the water. The Persian Gulf, and especially the Strait of Hormuz, make up a strategic naval zone. Think about it. Something like 20% of the entire world's oil flows through that narrow strait. It's not a direct battlefield yet, but it is a massive point of economic leverage and a huge potential flashpoint for escalation.
So that's the whole situation at the end of day 4. The real question is, where is all this heading? The next 48 hours are absolutely critical, and analysts are watching for some very specific signals.
So just how dangerous is the situation right now? This escalation ladder gives us a pretty clear picture. We're past the initial strikes, that's done. We're now stuck in the second phase, this retaliation cycle of missiles and drones. We're just starting to see some regional spillover, especially on the Israel-Lebanon border. The real danger zones, though, major disruptions at sea and another major power getting involved, we haven't hit those rungs. Yet. So what should you actually look for in the news over the next couple of days? Here are the key things to watch. A sign of escalation, Iran launching bigger salvos of missiles, or proxies like Hezbollah launching coordinated attacks. A good sign, a stabilization signal. The opposite, a drop in the number of launches, less activity from the proxies. But the really crucial one to watch is maritime security. Any attack on an oil tanker would be a massive, massive signal of escalation. So what happens next week? Well, nothing is 100% certain, obviously. But these first 4 days have given us enough data to start forecasting the most likely scenarios.
The most likely scenario, sitting at about a 45% chance, is that we stay in this controlled tit-for-tat strike cycle. But look at this. There's a pretty significant 30% chance that the war expands through those regional proxies, and a 15% chance of that really dangerous maritime escalation we just talked about. And notice the odds for a quick ceasefire are just as low as another major power jumping in, only 5%, not very likely.
So, the bottom line is this. Geographically, the war is still pretty contained, but operationally, it is at a boiling point. And the two biggest tripwires, the two things that could trigger a much, much wider war, are what's happening on the Lebanon border and what could happen in the Strait of Hormuz.
So as we wrap up this Day 4 report, it really leaves us with the single most important question right now. We've seen a war that has completely dominated the skies for 4 days. The key variable now, the thing that will define the next phase of this conflict, is whether it will spill over from the air and into the sea.